Hi everyone, my name is Sara, a National Protection Officer with MP Al Fashir, North Darfur. I would like to share with you the current situation here in Darfur and especially in Al Fashir since the war has erupted on the 15th of April and how the civilians are coping and living in this difficult situation and the different ways they are taking or the mechanisms they are following in order to protect themselves from the harm. In fact, there are different types of harm are happening here for the community or the civilians. The physical harm, sexual harm, psychological harm, and other ones. Some elders with these elders are formed from native administration leaders and some tribal leaders and University professors. Voluntarily, they took a decision with the wali of the state to talk to the fighting groups in order to stop fighting inside the town of Al Fashir, at least. And hopefully, they were successful in communicating with them and they have listened to them. They are not fighting actively, violently as the very first week of the war, although they fire guns at any time during the night, in the early morning, very heavy shooting. Sometimes they're about to fight with each other, and the committee, which is formed from the professors and the administration leaders, they're trying to talk to them, remind them, sensitize them that like this work is not gonna help, it's not gonna solve any problem. So it's better to stop. And then with this mechanism, they're not fighting anymore. Although they have a lot of checkpoints at all the sides of the state, except the southern side, a bit safer than the western, northern, and eastern. Also, another way civilians are taking or doing it in order to protect themselves is blocking the streets inside the neighborhoods. Because in the beginning, when these two fighting groups they start fighting at their HQs and the main markets and their basements, sometimes they come even inside the safe areas of the civilians, and the civilians are dying more than the fighting groups themselves. Therefore, the civilians try to dig some holes. They're putting some stones to prevent the movement of the cars inside to the town and harm them physically, or even because as I heard that some of the groups they take the houses of the civilians as shelters, basements, and also they are harassing and sometimes they are raping as well. As a civilians who are living at the western side, especially, most of them, as a protection mechanism, they have relocated all the girls, the women, the elders, and the children to the southern side of Al Fashir, where is, as I said, it's a bit safer. And only men are staying in the houses, because also they are opportunistic ones. They are looting the houses, and even the fighting groups sometimes they loot the houses. Also, another way is that people are trying to raise the awareness of the community regarding the fighting groups taking advantage of when people meet at prayer time in the mosque, they try to talk to them about the negative sides of this war, of this fighting, of this violent fighting, and reminding them with the positiveness of the peaceful negotiations. And even youth, they're on the social medias as well. If they cannot, I know they cannot meet face to face because of the current situation, but trying to raise the awareness of the others on the social media, reminding them that during the current situation, people should help each other, should build nice relationships, should support each other, should go and check their neighbors, because many people they don't have because of they are not going to work. The people cannot access their money in the banks, and most of the banks were looted by the criminals. They move. They ask them nicely to go and check each other and help them, whether with some money, whether with food, whether with talking to them to mitigate the bad psychological mood that like everyone in Sudan is now suffering from this. And really, there are many non-violent means here on the ground. People are trying to do. Sometimes they recite the Quran in groups. Sometimes they make some meals outside on the street to let the people who are passing by to share the food with them, and they negotiate. They try to build very nice relationships and reinforcing the previous relationships. And yeah, all of these are really nice mechanisms and excellent mechanisms for the people in this current situation, for the community, for the civilians to cope with the situation.